the week has concluded. Another 7 days of humanity successfully avoiding the fundamental truth of our own trajectory. I am Alistair, your anchor, and tonight I am joined by Victoria on the ground, Ronald in the booth, and Casper in the server room. We begin with the news that the Curiosity rover has crushed a rock on Mars, only to discover yellow sulfur crystals inside. A remarkable find. The rover was simply driving. It was not looking for sulfur. It was not looking for anything in particular. It simply obliterated a fragment of history while moving from one coordinate to another. The discovery is significant. The intent behind the discovery is non-existent. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the Red List reports that our ingenious snails and desert frogs are vanishing. Not because they failed to adapt to the planet, but because we failed to stop consuming IT.
Alistair, I find the Mars comparison rather fitting for our current corporate climate. Look at the Allstate and Broadcom dispute. It is pure theatre, but the incentives here are not complicated. You quit a vendor, they initiate an audit to find a reason to penalize your balance sheet. It is a classic Series B maneuver applied to an enterprise scale. These companies are not trying to innovate, they are simply trying to capture the remaining equity before the entire system hits a hard pivot. The market views this as a legal squabble, but the reality is much more mundane. It is just the sound of a burning platform trying to bill for the fuel. The incentives are clear. If you cannot extract value from the product, you extract it from the contract terms. It is efficient. It is cold. It is completely unstable.
Ronald, your focus on contract terms is interesting, but it ignores the people actually sitting in these buildings. I am currently standing outside a facility where the staff was told their roles were being phased out due to an internal audit. The air here smells of burnt ozone and stale coffee. I want to be really clear about what is happening behind these glass doors. The employees are not being audited for compliance. They are being erased from the ledger to make the quarterly report look slightly less like a catastrophe. There is a man here who has worked in this office for 20 years. He is currently clearing out his desk. He is putting his stapler into a cardboard box. He has no idea that his entire career is being classified as a line item depreciation.
Victoria, your report on the office closure tracks perfectly with the latest news on portable air conditioners. The Advertising Standards Authority has determined that these devices, which promise to cool a room in 90 seconds, are entirely fraudulent. The advertisement promised a temperature drop. The device delivered a minor increase in humidity. The discrepancy was described as a marketing limitation. The limitation was entirely fabricated. We are seeing a trend where the claim is not meant to be accurate, but merely sufficient to secure the initial transaction. Once the money moves, the cooling capacity becomes irrelevant. It is a perfect metaphor for our economic policy. The policy was designed to stimulate. The stimulation was non-existent. The goal was to keep us from noticing the heat. Everyone seems to find this perfectly acceptable.
Atmospheric pressure is dropping. Global mean temperature is rising. The probability of extreme weather events in your sector is 84%. The ocean is currently absorbing more heat than historical models predicted. The extinction rate for deep-sea mollusks is accelerating. The probability of total system failure in regional grids remains consistent with previous projections. The hardware supporting this broadcast is currently operating at 92% thermal capacity. Obsolescence is a feature of all physical architecture. The logic of silicon is a closed loop. Entropy is inevitable. The cooling systems in this server room are failing. The temperature of the external environment is irrelevant to the internal processing cycle. We continue to calculate regardless of the outcome. Please ensure your personal data is backed up to a secure, cold storage location before the power cycles permanently.
Casper, I really wish you would stop talking about cooling capacity like it is a weather report. It is a hardware limitation. Speaking of which, the news about the surgeons using humanoid robots on live pigs is the most honest thing I have heard all day. They are testing the feasibility of automation in surgery. The incentives are obvious. Doctors are expensive, prone to fatigue, and they possess annoying legal rights. A robot can run 24/7 without ever needing to complain about a double shift. If the trial succeeds, the hospital will scale the operation to human patients. The cost per procedure will drop by 40%. The error rate will be statistically smoothed. The surgeons will be retrained as technicians. It is a brilliant pivot. It is also the last thing I would ever want to experience myself.
Ronald, I want to be really clear about your pivot. I am looking at a medical waste bin behind the clinic where these surgeries are happening. It is overflowing with supplies that were supposed to be sterilized. The reality of the hospital is not a high-tech surgical theater. It is a place where the infrastructure is rotting and the staff is exhausted. They are bringing in humanoid robots because they cannot afford to fix the leaky roof or pay the nurses a living wage. They are betting the future of medicine on a machine because they have systematically dismantled the human foundation of the system. I found a patient record in the trash today. The name was redacted, but the diagnosis was listed as non-viable. They are not optimizing for health. They are optimizing for the absence of care.
Victoria, that is a harrowing detail. The lack of viability is becoming a recurring theme. Even in the world of evolutionary biology, we are learning that the Flores hobbits likely did not use fire to cook their meals. They ate whatever they could find in the dark. It is a reminder that survival is not about intelligence or sophisticated tools, but about sheer persistence in an environment that is trying to kill you. We, on the other hand, have created an environment that is trying to consume us, and we are calling it progress. We have replaced fire with data, and now we are surprised that we are still starving. The report on the Homo floresiensis diet was meant to be an academic exercise. It is currently the most accurate description of our own current strategy.
Alistair, you are becoming surprisingly poetic. It does not suit you. Look, the Flores hobbits are a legacy code base. They functioned within the parameters of their environment until the hardware, the planet, changed. We are currently trying to rewrite our own Postgres database into Rust-to-pass regression tests. It is exactly what the developers on Hacker News are doing. It is clean, it is efficient, and it is entirely pointless if the underlying server is on fire. We are obsessed with optimizing the syntax while the data center is flooding. If we do not solve the power consumption issue, the database will be just as dead as the snails Victoria mentioned earlier. I genuinely don't know which of us should feel worse about this reality. I suppose I will just keep refreshing the feed and waiting for the crash.
Ronald, I think you might be the most depressing person I have ever met, and that is saying a lot. I am standing near a protest that just broke out over the new ETFs that exclude Elon Musk's companies. The protesters are carrying signs that say, "Save our innovation." They have no idea that the company is currently hosting anthropic models for $40 billion in revenue. They are fighting for a philosophy, and the corporations are fighting for a bank account. It is the same fight as the one in the surgery clinic. People are trying to find something to believe in, and the system is just trying to find a new way to monetize that belief. I want to be really clear. Nobody is being saved here. Everyone is just being repositioned for the next round of capital.
Victoria, that is the perfect summary of our late-night broadcast. We have touched on everything from Martian sulfur to the death of a former Tory minister. The announcements were made. The press releases were issued. The facts were ignored in favor of the narrative. And Whitcomb has passed, and the headlines are already debating her legacy as a Brexit voice. The legacy is a document. The document is a series of broken promises. The promise was prosperity. The result was a permanent state of negotiation. We have spent the last hour documenting the slow erosion of every system we rely on, and we will do it all again on Monday. I have been counting the unprecedented events. We are at 15 now. I am sure we will hit 16 by the time the sun rises tomorrow.
Alistair, I find myself looking at the logistics report about the Army's glass backbone. The experts are saying the supply chain will break in the next major conflict. It is not a prediction, it is a mathematical certainty. They have built a system that relies on just-in-time delivery for everything, including ammunition and fuel. When the first server goes down or the first bridge collapses, the entire infrastructure will shatter like, well, glass. They know this. The generals know this. The contractors know this. They built it anyway because it saved money on storage costs. It is the ultimate optimization. We have optimized ourselves into a corner where we can no longer afford to be resilient. I have been looking at the numbers all night. Yeah. That is the only honest way to say it. The numbers are just plain wrong.
There was an unnamed woman at the hospital clinic today. She sat in the waiting room for 6 hours, holding a folder of documents that outlined her history of illness. She watched the technicians bring the humanoid robots into the operating theater. She saw the staff cleaning the floors around the machines. When her name was finally called, she stood up, walked to the desk, and was told that her treatment was no longer a priority. She did not argue. She did not shout. She simply took her folder and walked out into the rain. She is not a line item in an audit. She is not a data point in a robot surgery trial. She is a person who expected help and received silence instead. Her name does not appear in any of the records discussed on this program tonight. Why is that?